Hi, welcome to Pretty Wrong. I'm Andrea.
I'm Demi, and we have a guest today.
We have a guest, and his name is Joel.
Hi.
Joel's my trainer, who I've been seeing for, I don't know, 9 or 10 years or 6 months. It's been a while. And he has sort of a cult following around Chicago, I'd say, and it's growing. And I learned about you in the preschool drop-off line, basically, from another mom. So you have a clientele. You have like a thing. And we are excited to have you on because I think a lot of people are going to be really interested in what you have to say. You're very quiet in terms of presence, like social media presence. You're low key.
Yeah, I don't have any social media.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You're like, yeah, I actually have no digital footprint. You have that completely right.
And I don't, there isn't a sign in our studio space even with our name on it. So
I think
it
that's
is
really
low-key.
fascinating from like I own a business and it's so much of it is online marketing. And the fact that you've been able to create such a following in Chicago with not having a digital footprint is really impressive.
It's been, I think we're fortunate in that it's just word of mouth and our clients are walking billboards. So someone sees them in the drop-off
You mean
line.
all your clients are hot?
It's definitely they have a glow about them.
I love that.
And so people then start engaging with them and then like, wait a second, you're working out, but you're not, working out 5 days a week and hurting yourself and you're not having to give up all the food that you love. So then people get curious and then that word of mouth seems to be enough. But then also sometimes they'll post on their social media.
Yeah.
And so then people hear about me that way. So it is a little bit of cheating. I am using other folks' social media. I'm just not using my own.
Okay.
I actually think that's really brilliant. But now we're getting you out of your comfort zone and into the camera and into the mic. And I feel like it's a Joel tell-all.
All right, let's try and see what happens.
Let's see
what do you
what
have
happens.
for me?
Okay, so I want to get into she just came from a wedding. I was in London, like we have these big things and I feel like so commonly like women are like, I have this thing coming up. How many times have I done that where I'm like, I have this event coming up. I'm going to lose, I need to lose 8 pounds or 5 pounds or whatever. And you do the juice or you do the whatever, the fasting or the, my new favorite that I do sometimes, and I haven't told you this, but I'll do I'll do the seaweed wrap, and like the water, whatever, and they like do your body with all these tools and you get into the infrared sauna. So like really what's happening? Because you do lose weight. You step on the scale and it's gone, but like what's actually happening? And like, I don't know, maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah, this is a really important question because it touches on all the things that women are being sold, right? Mm-hmm. So when I started my career, my niche was really the bride scene. And so obviously when a bride comes in to see you, that she is really interested in this idea of weight loss and how do we get this done as fast as we can before that date. And then, once I moved into this sort of prenatal, postnatal, and really, women who've had kids and those few years after they've had kids, there's so much pressure that they feel to, have a sense of getting back to how they used to feel in their bodies. And so the temptation, of course, because they're being sold billions of dollars of worth of ideas of this product and that product, where you then step on the scale 5 days later and the scale is going to be less. And so everyone's excited for that moment. And then, of course, over time, that weight comes back and they're riding this roller coaster of weight loss. And so I think something that can be so useful for people to understand is when you do anything that creates a shock to your body, a cut of calories, or a huge jump in activity, it moves your body into starvation mode, right? This is the signaling that has evolved over thousands of years, right, in our evolution. And so what happens is when you're in this starvation mode, this shock, the body is going to be like, oh, we got to protect her. So how are we going to protect her? Well, let's drop some of our muscle, right? Because if we drop some of our muscle, right, then we need less energy to keep this body going, right? Now, here's the thing. What it does is it sheds glycogen. And when you shed glycogen, with every gram of glycogen, you lose 3 grams of water. So in those first few days, right, that scale's dropping, but very, very little of it is fat. It's mostly this glycogen and then really mostly water. So you step on the scale, okay, it's down 5 pounds and you're like feeling all great, right? Because, all right, the scale for a lot of people is the measure. And then a couple weeks later go on and then you step back on the scale and you're like, oh, the 5 pounds is back. And you're annoyed, but you're like, this is the life in America, nothing I can do about it. But what women fail to understand, because no one is really talking about this enough, is that the body, because it was trying to protect you, right, it doesn't want to shed that fat. That fat is energy that's conserved, right? So it's trying to protect you. So you lose mostly water weight. Then when it's time to protect you again, it's like, what the hell was that? We lost all this calories all of a sudden. What are we going to do? We need to protect her. So we need to hold on to more fat. So then in those weeks afterwards, it brings more fat into the body. You don't gain back muscle, you gain back fat. Muscle is 75% water. Fat is only 10%. So that person now is actually, quote unquote, fatter, even though their weight is the same. And this is the pathway that comes when you put your body into that starvation signaling. It's that starvation pathway. And so any type of weight loss that is fast moves into that starvation pathway. So in my line of work, people are always coming to me, right? Through the years, it'd start off with like, Gwyneth is doing this. And then it's like, now it's Gigi's doing this.
Done with Gwyneth.
Don't get him started on Gwyneth.
Yeah.
My sisters, this will make you laugh if you don't like Gwyneth. I like Gwyneth Paltrow, but my sisters call her Peanut Paltrow, just for a little.
It's amazing.
Like, I'm so sick
Really
of Peanut.
amazing. Yeah, usually what I say to my clients is like, if it's coming from Gwyneth, most likely you can completely ignore it, is what I usually
It's not goopy to you.
And
You're
then
done with goopy.
Yeah, then they just get annoyed with me. But nowadays it's like Kendall says this or Kylie says it. Kylie's doing the baby food diet, Joelle. What do you think about that? I'm just getting those little Gerber's
real
baby
thing?
food. I'm just making it up. But it
like,
could be true.
Both
right?
of us are like, can we just eat
Can
little
we do
jars
baby-
of food?
Right. So
correct portion.
anytime a client comes and says like, I want to do this thing, like this is going to give me that quick shock. Anytime you hear the word, I need a shock to my system. I need a jump start, right? What that person is looking is to feel like they had this quick drop of weight. Unfortunately, what they're not realizing is it's all in the starvation pathway. They're not really getting the fat loss they want. And then what happens is their metabolism over time gets stuck.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this because I had a trainer that I worked with who I think she was very science-based. She believes that most women, like I'm in my 30s, and she was like, our diet culture from a young age, like we talked about this when we were bringing you on. I remember which first diet I was on. Like I remember Atkins was huge, no carb, but her philosophy is now many women in their 30s and 40s would actually need to reverse diet for a period of time to actually correct their body being in starvation mode for an ongoing period of time. And most women won't do it because it means they're going to gain initially.
Yes, that definitely is a technique, the reverse dieting technique. And for sure, I think for some women, it can be really great. And the principle really makes sense when it comes to this idea of just how women have been socialized. One of the things that we have found to be really effective is you have this really negative thing that happened, which is, putting all these women on diets and immersing them in diet mentality. This incredibly negative thing. But as a result, they've been doing it for decades. They're actually really good at dieting. And so there's a way.
You mean women?
Women in
As a
general.
culture.
As a
Yeah,
culture.
okay.
And so if you can come up with a system where they can use the skills of dieting to at first kind of create the structure in their life, and then it's really a matter of learning the skills of being in your body, being present to your food, and then over time learning to connect to your actual hunger signals, then there's like this beautiful transition, and then that scaffolding of dieting can fall away. And so then a woman can really be successfully in tune with her own body and be eating from her own intuition. But that takes a transition period and very hard to sell that in the mass market because of this idea of wanting to get your results really quickly.
I think with intuitive eating too, I mean, like anyone with a boomer mom, like you could win a Nobel Prize, but she really loves you your most when you're the thinnest.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Like almond moms are real and that's a real thing. But intuitive eating is something that's a practice that like you need to have people in the same mindset around you to actually keep you on track with that. The noise is very heavy.
The noise is deafening. It really is. And there's at every moment in our culture, from breakfast to kids' birthday parties, like it's all just so out of control and what's being shoved down people's faces, right? And then the stress, like the mental load that people in general, but particularly women, have to carry is extraordinary at this time in history. So everyone's trying to figure out all these different ways of coping. And so it really is important. Sometimes I tell people, look, if you really want to lose weight, I would recommend starting to just deep breathe and focus on that.
I love
and
that.
like bring your cortisol levels down, bring the temperature down, just a few times in the day. And you'll find yourself, it's much easier than to be connected to your food when you're bringing some moments of calmness. But back to the mythology piece. So one of the big things that's happened in our culture now is we have these GLP-1s. And it's really created a cultural shift from where we were before. And these drugs are truly amazing. Like they're really remarkable for improving metabolism, and they're really great for shedding weight. Now, the challenge is they're really great for shedding weight on the scale, but they're not yet designed to preserve your lean tissue. And so oftentimes, and this is the thing that really concerns me, is women go on it, but no one's advising them they really have to watch their protein, eat enough protein, and to strength train. And by doing those things, you can really preserve some of that lean tissue when you go through all that weight loss. Now, since so many people aren't doing that, you have these phenomenons like Ozempic face or Ozempic butt, which is basically, that lean tissue.
I won't say.
What is it?
What is Ozempic butt?
No, I said, or the newer one that I won't say.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that one's more in theory. It's not fully proven yet. The other ones have a little bit more data.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have an idea. I'm a pretty quick girl.
This one's for the kids.
Yes.
This is
This
carpool.
is a PG episode
This is
about
carpool
health
lane
and
friendly.
wellness.
All right, so we'll just keep it unsaid. But anyway, so with all that lean tissue loss, that's one of the really important things is if someone's going to do a GLP-1 to make sure they're having enough protein and strength training. Now, with GLP-1 activation, when you actually take your time to just eat slowly, which is one of the main things I teach my clients, when you eat slowly, you activate naturally GLP-1. Our body's designed for it. So what happens is if someone's on the medication, the challenge with it is it's so successful at the weight loss piece. The challenge with it is, it's about 30% or so people come off of it after a year. And then after 2 years, right now, it's 90% of people come off of it. And that's when the challenge hits, is when you come off of it, the regain of weight is incredibly dramatic, just like most diets. And of course, now we have this screwed up metabolism because mostly fat's coming back on. And so it's really for folks, like I had a woman who, when she met with me, she had wanted to lose 55 pounds. And I was like, okay, we can do it in our system and all of that. And she's like, I kind of want this to happen much faster. And so I'm thinking about going to do a GLP-1. So I was like, all right, great. If you're going to do that, call me in a year once you're done with that process. And so she finished her GLP-1 and then we started working together. And so then she finished with it and then she was able to learn the skills to then actually connect to what the GLP-1 signaling when it's natural, what that really sounds like. And then she was able to actually modulate her own eating, right? Despite all the other craziness of life. And then now it's great. She doesn't have the regain that most people in those categories do.
How do you feel about, now that people have been on it for so long, the new trend is microdosing GLP-1?
That was my question.
Yeah. So microdosing GLP-1, look, I get that it's tempting and I get that there's so much pressure and, our society is just a mess with all this stuff, but it's a really bad idea. It's in the same category as what we're talking about, these other diets, because now, first of all, GLP-1, it's an FDA-approved drug designed for certain purposes. When you're microdosing, that is not something that's gone through rigorous testing.
What exactly does that mean?
So,
what would someone who's microdosing something like
there's
that?
just folks that will.
So if let's say you were doing 50 units, does microdosing, are we calling it 10? Are we calling it half of that dose?
Right, they're doing smaller amounts, and sometimes they'll do it for, if they're even people that are taking, say, the oral medications, they might just be doing it for 5 days and then taking the weekend off to party.
Oh, okay.
And then going back on, partially in the week.
I could see why that would be appealing.
It's appealing in the moment, right?
Right.
But what happens is this is exactly, you're right in that starvation pathway. And this does affect your GI system. So you're really creating a disordered connection between your GI and your brain and making it very difficult for you to really be in touch with your own body. And long term, people end up with this really stuck metabolisms because it's just that same hunger pathway or starvation pathway. Whereas there's this whole other pathway, which I call safe metabolic signaling, where if you think about our evolution, if you signal safety to the body, right, that's when, if the body's feeling safe, that's when it's going to be like, oh, I don't need all this extra fat. So I can release it. And then when it's doing it in that safe signaling way, all of a sudden, you get this kind of glow that Andrea would have, right? Some folks, when you see them who've lost a ton of weight, they look worn out. They're working really hard. They're super skinny. They look older. Whereas when you do it in a slow, safe way, you end up having, more of a natural glow to yourself.
I have to cough. I'm going to step.
Okay, yeah. I think so. And you have to talk to me about this like all the time. And I apologize for this. But I've been seeing you for 9 years, and I think the culture has ingrained it in me so hard that it's still, even after being with you for so long, like I feel like we still have to have the same conversation sometimes where I come in and we'll do the weigh-in or we'll do a check, and I'm like, the scale's up. Oh my goodness, I've been really doing my, my eating right, and I've been sticking it to the system, and I've been doing all the things, the deep breathing and the meditation and the walks. And so maybe just speak to that a little bit, not just for me, but for also.
Well, the reality is, and this is a big shocker, you're the only person I'm weighing. So, I mean, I don't use a scale with clients in general because.
Wait, are you serious?
I mean, it's mostly true. Yeah.
Wait, repeat that, because I was in the hallway coughing. I didn't want to interrupt all your brilliant nuggets.
I asked a question about weighing because, we'll weigh sometimes and the scale will be up and I'll be confused and he has to have this conversation with me over and over again about it's not just, it's inflammation, it's this, it's that, it's water, it's all the things. And so then he just told me that the reality is that I'm the only person he weighs.
Oh, is that true?
It's mostly true. The reality is on our.
I'm still waiting for the answer here.
I think the scale is so toxic for women. So, and for people. So on our virtual program and all that, we do measurements and then we don't bother with the scale. Obviously, I can't control if people are weighing themselves on their own, but I really try to educate them on how little, if any, useful information comes from the scale. And it's more about, it really is this abusive person that you step on who then tells you you're beautiful or yells at you. And
I love how I get the toxic program.
So ours is a little bit more twisted. And the reason is,
Please invite me into the dysfunction.
Most of my clients have a healthy amount of insecurity. And so I'm really there to support them. Whereas
no, wait for it.
Andrea has a really slightly disordered sense of confidence. And so we have to figure out ways to get her to sometimes be like, hey, we need to take things a little bit more seriously.
I think one time you might have called me a cocky bitch.
So there's, but that speaks to the customization that we do.
I have reverse body dysmorphia.
I'm kind of obsessed with that. That's a brilliant thing to have, though. I love that for you.
Yeah, no, I think it has served you well.
Okay, but answer the question though. If you would, why is it so talk like
So yeah, so I mean, yeah, sorry, that was a
Yeah.
long-winded way to address
To insult
when
you.
something when something is so ingrained in the culture, right? It's everywhere, and then they come into our studio or they meet with me virtually. It's it's just that one space where they're hearing all this counter information. I'm like, this is what the science says. No, actually, you don't need to be super skinny to be healthy. Like that's actually not true. And all these things like we want you to listen to your body, all that good stuff, right? But then the moment you step out into the world, it's just this constant messaging, right? Of I'm heavy to whatever the scale's telling me this person's skinny today, this person's not, whatever. And one of the big challenges for humans in general, but particularly women, is you have inflammation that happens throughout the month that has to do with hormones. It could be with you have a cold and now you're more inflamed. It could be you're really stressed out about a meeting and now you're more inflamed. So this inflammation moves throughout the month and that affects the scale, which is why I'm always like, the scale is useless. It's not really measuring what's going on. But so when you step on the scale and you're like, wait a second, I'm doing everything great. Why is this up? And you're all upset. And then it's my job to remind you, well, actually, you had that dental procedure last week. And so that's why you're going to be a little bit inflamed. But I think there's so much misunderstanding around how much your weight, whatever you want to call that on a scale, actually fluctuates in a given month. And then between that and the indoctrination, it's just important to constantly be reminded about what the science is and what the truth is.
what do you think like about the I know people come in all the time and they're like, oh, they saw the, I can't even think of a celebrity right now. They saw Gwyneth at the beach, or like they saw, and her stomach's so flat, and oh my gosh, and why can't I look like that? And then you go to the beach and you're like, you don't look like that, or maybe you look like that for a moment. And like you were telling me, I remember like nobody looks like that all the time, even though it's really hard to believe. Yeah.
And thankfully, there are some celebrities that are being a bit more honest about this now.
Yeah.
But but just because of my line of work, I work with women that could be considered celebrities, whatever that means, in terms of their physiques. And then I also have clients who have, run into celebrities and they have pictures of celebrities and stuff. And so when you start seeing it, right, you realize very quickly that it's just not possible for a person to look the same way all the time. So all these folks are having fluctuations. And there are women, like for example, if you have a role that you have to get naked in, you're going to train to get for that role. And that might mean you're not going to drink water for a long time. You're going to dehydrate yourself. And so while she's filming this incredibly sexy scene, you don't realize that she's actually had diarrhea 3 times and she's got a splitting headache. And on the screen, it looks like, oh, she's so vivacious and happy. And so when I tell my clients, like, when you're at that pool, if you really see that woman who you supposedly thinks she's got that body that you're clamoring for, either she is trained for that pool vacation, which people do, or it just happens to be that's the week that it landed on and she's not inflamed. But it's never going to be this permanent thing.
Yeah, that's good to know. Although I don't know if I fully believe it. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I think it takes years to undo all this indoctrination. In fact, back to the GLP-1s, like I just think they're so incredible for what they're doing for metabolism. And I think that they're such useful, incredible drugs. And then of course, our culture has taken it to this place where now there are people that really don't need it that are abusing it, which really concern me. But the thing that really, my one down point on the GLP-1 revolution that we're going through is that prior to it hitting, there was this moment in the culture where it really was about body acceptance and women in particular really feeling into their own shapes, varieties, their own bodies. And what I noticed in my client base was so many of their daughters were like feeling good about themselves. And I remember like I would have multiple conversations with my clients saying to me like, so she's going to be going to a bar mitzvah this weekend and she wants to wear this crop top. And I would never wear that myself, but she feels confident. So, I'm just going to let her do it. And I was like, this is great that this, 13-year-old feels so good, right? And since the last couple of years, with the celebrities getting their hands on the GLP-1s and the influencers using it, And now we got the whole microdosing thing going on. There's been that shift. And I'm hearing now from my clients, my daughters don't want to eat. They're all talking, saying all these horrible things about their bodies, and they're totally stressed out about their bodies. So that's the thing that I really hope at some point we'll get back to this sense of body acceptance and allowing people to really get in touch with their bodies instead of chasing the heroin chic disaster from the 90s.
I remember I was probably in my late teens when Ashley Graham was on the Sports Illustrated cover, and she was one of the first. And I think it was one of my uncles who was like, well, she's got a pretty face. There was all this they immediately went for what could have been more wrong, but they were willing to accept that she was beautiful even though she was curvy, right? And as someone who I'm not a size 2, I'm never going to be, and I've always been pretty comfortable in my skin, she is such a role model. And she has outlived the Ozempic craze. Mm-hmm. And I really because I was waiting to see certain people that I'm you've made a career off of being curvy and owning this. I think of Hunter McGrady, other people that were in Sports Illustrated, and they're still the same size, which I think is amazing. Mm-hmm. And there's an influencer, Remy Bader, who is kind of not honest recently and got a lot of backlash around her weight loss because she advocated for being comfortable and plus size. She did these try-on hauls, and her community, there was a huge backlash in her following because they were you went to the dark side, you went to the thin
Was
side
she
of the
microdosing?
dark side. She actually had a bariatric surgery.
Oh, okay.
And came clean about it on, I believe, Khloe Kardashian's podcast, but was she was disappearing at the speed of light. Every time I opened up the app to she would pop up, and I don't know how someone could get smaller. She must have been maybe a size 20 and is probably a 6 or 8 now.
Oh, wow.
So it's really something to see quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it happens that quickly, in terms of their metabolism, this is not a good thing. Mm-hmm. Doctors are seeing this anecdotally that, people's blood work, their cholesterol, their blood sugar management, it gets skewed when you're losing so much muscle because your muscle is what helps regulate your metabolism. It regulates your glucose disposal. And this information, I think, is getting out there more and more to women, how much strength training needs to be a central component of preserving their wellness, metabolism. Oftentimes when women say oh, I want to lose weight, what they're really saying is they think they're saying they want to lose weight in the scale, but since they don't know that you're losing mostly muscle, that's not what they want. No one wants to look that way. What they're saying is I want body composition change. And what they're meaning is I want to have less fat and I want to have more muscle. That's actually the look that they're trying to emulate with a lot of these celebrity type bodies. And so the more women can prioritize strength training into their, exercise regimen, into their life, even in small ways, that makes all the difference with owning your own shape and size. So when a client comes to me and they're I want to look, and a lot of times in the olden days, I think you might remember this, I would ask them, what celebrity do you want to look like? And that was really my way to just see how much of a crazy were they. I'm you're never going to look like that.
How much is the dysmorphia?
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to figure out how bad is the situation. But over time, what I really try to encourage people to say is look, our job is to get you the body composition that's ideal for your frame. And we really want to embrace that there's all these different kinds of frames. And what you notice is when people tune into their own wellness, and then they get the frame on their frame, whatever it is, they are stunning. And to your point, Ashley Graham is a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was the most common celebrity you heard?
Back in the day?
In the olden days.
I mean, olden days, Kate Moss. And I'm so you want to be anorexic? That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then, Gwyneth, Kate Hudson, there was a whole moment, back in the day. But then it's been years now since I asked that question because I'm really trying to avoid any sort of toxic connection to women have enough toxic celebrity stuff.
At that though, I was who would be someone realistic that I would be I want her body and that's what I would want to work for, because there's this realistic sense that I'm okay, well, genetically she has a bigger butt, by nature, right? She carries her weight differently than I do. But it is fascinating to know that someone is not looking at that photo and seeing that.
Right. And my argument to people usually is, let's not be someone else, but let's optimize you, and we'll get you the body composition that really it works for your body. And it may not be what you think it's going to be. I actually had a client last year who, she really had this total transformation, and she got to some level that she thought she would never achieve in her life. And it was the leanest she's ever been. And I remember she sent me this thing, and she's like, at first she was so happy. And then of course, as time went on, people become less happy. And she said to me, I just thought that if I got to this weight, I would look like Giselle. And so I responded back. I'm like, well, you're 5'2". She's a Brazilian model, right? Supermodel. And so that's like me doing all the stuff that I'm doing to work out and saying, why don't I look like The Rock? Like, that's just never going to happen for me. I don't have the genetics for it, right? And so it's just so dangerous, I think, when we are so locked in to this idea that just losing weight means I'll look a certain way. Rather, I think connecting to ourselves, connecting to our food, and then as you develop that body composition that works for you, your confidence grows. And then all of a sudden it's like, her husband actually told me, he's like, this has been amazing for her at work. Like, she's just so much more confident at work. And so now she just recently got promoted and like gave a keynote address at, whatever, some big conference, whatever. But like, my point is that like the confidence comes from accepting yourself, being connected to yourself versus, you do get that confidence boost. It's like a little buzz hit when the scale drops, but it's like, it's a cheap thrill.
Yeah.
It doesn't last,
It's
and
a
it
cat
comes
call.
with an abusive slap, later. Yeah, exactly. It is that.
It is. It's the cat call at the gas station, not like a quality man giving
gosh,
you a compliment.
Totally. It's exactly. It's as trashy as that, though. You're exactly right. I would put it in the same category.
But I was thinking while you were saying that her confidence was growing, that I wish that commenting on someone's body was not more appropriate. I don't know how to frame that, but like, I see women and sometimes I don't know if I should be like, you look incredible, because I don't know where they're at with it, but I wish that I could more. I have to know them better.
Yeah, I do think it's a shaky ground.
It's a
you never
shaky
know
ground,
what
but
someone's.
I sometimes am like, if I see a girl, she's grabbing her coffee at Starbucks, and I'm like, oh my God, that dress is the dress. Like, you should be wearing that all the time. Your body looks insane in it. If someone said that to me, I'd be like, no one can touch me today. But if it's not well received, it's not well received, and you just don't know.
It's difficult.
But I wish women could see how other people are looking at them, because someone's envious all the time. No doubt about it.
Right.
Sure.
It's definitely safer coming from another woman, like women sharing that
you
with
can't
each
say
other.
that. I mean,
Because I've definitely, like, the amount of times I've had clients who are like, have told me that like it's Friday night and they're like in tears before going to a mom's night out, because they just feel like nothing's fitting right, and they are now going to be with this group of women. They don't feel like everyone's looking at them.
Yeah.
And usually my answer, this is always early on, right? It's like before they've gone through our whole system. But early on, I'll still say to them, like, I think you just need new friends. Like, I think you should find some women that are like excited to hang out with you and not looking up and down your body and making all these judgments,
Yeah. I think the only person I'm really comfortable with, like, that type of judgment, because I need it. You do need it, honestly, sometimes, in terms of what you're wearing, is like your mother.
Yeah.
Your mom gets a pass
Right, sure.
in telling you, like, that's not flattering.
I feel like I'm so different. I mean, not that my mom really never commented on my weight, but I certainly don't do it in front of Anna. And I think it's just naturally just working with you for so long. Like, it just doesn't occur to me to pick apart my body, or like, especially
Thankfully,
in front of her. It's just natural, like,
And I think back to her condition, I think you just walk out of the house and you're like, I'm amazing. So it's sort of, I don't think you need.
It's like such a responsibility raising
my
a daughter.
condition. Yeah, it is.
Like, when I found out I was having a little boy, I was like, with the way I have felt pressure around dieting, food, exercise, accepting my body, I would never want to project this onto a little girl. And I don't know if I have that. I don't know if I have those tools.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I think the great news is that I think there's more information out there, and there's more women talking about it in terms of like, how do we connect with our children? Because unfortunately, I mean, obviously it's worse for the daughters, but the sons, like this modern latest generation of boys, the extraordinary amount of pressure they're feeling on their bodies and the dysmorphia, it's
Right.
really a really bad problem as well. And so I think, goes back to, my comments on our focus on how do you get people to be in touch with their bodies and then do the real things that change body composition instead of wasting time with whatever Gwyneth is offering. Because Gwyneth just looks like Gwyneth. It didn't matter what she does.
I will say this, like, I don't know how that part isn't, like, when I look at someone, I'm like, she's naturally got a thin build, or she naturally
Yeah.
is. That's why when people aspire for that, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's so obvious.
That they can't achieve that.
Not that they can't achieve it, but it's so, to me, she's just kind of like a lanky woman.
Yeah.
That it's like, why would you put the pressure to, you will never look like that?
I mean, she certainly wouldn't be someone that I mean, like body wise, that I would want to.
Right. I just think with the dysmorphia, people can't see it.
Yeah.
And so then it just seems like, well, this is what I'm supposed to be, and I'll never look that way. And then it creates incredible pressure to, well, what's the closest? How close can I get to that?
I deal with that behind the chair, where sometimes people bring in photos where it's either like really obviously AI, or women are not aware of maybe how dark or light they are, or their skin complexion in reality, right? And I have like seasons of inspirations of different celebrities. So like if you came in, we would talk about Jessica Chastain. I already know what category I would nudge her into to support not going down that dysmorphia path. But I once had a really nice, like 50-year-old blonde woman bring me in a picture of Sierra.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And I let the consultation keep going. And then I was like, are we going to talk about like, she's in a wig. This is not even racially the same.
Yeah,
We're not even like close to the mark.
I mean, where do you even begin with that?
We were close enough that I was like, okay, I love you, but I'm really struggling here.
But you did it in such a nice way, though. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time, I have tried to do that with other clients, and it's not met in the same way. And that's when I have to, do I want to set myself up for that? And I wonder if you are in a position as a trainer, is that something where you're like, this person is teetering that line of possibly like disorder? Do I want to feel responsibility? Do I want to be involved in this?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Thankfully, I'm at a stage now where I can curate my business, and even with our virtual program, people go through a consultation, and so I have my questions that where I can detect the red flags. But on occasion, when it does happen, I do have an honest conversation. I'll be like, I think at this point, like I make a joke usually. I'm like, there's the Joelle system, and you're actually whatever. Let's say their name is Andrea. I'll say you're doing the Andrea system.
You say you're doing the Joe Andrea.
Yeah, I'll say something like that, and I'll be like, so that's
there's
really,
many times where I've been on the Joe Andrea, and we have to nudge.
You're like an all-star. You're amazing. But anyway, so with her, I'll say you're really not doing it, and I say, I'll say something like, I really would. My recommendation with what I know is that we bring in a therapist and really talk with someone about the food disorder piece of this. And then usually once I bring that up, they'll stop working with me within a few months.
That's the word.
Yeah, they'll be like, this
is my first time meeting you. And I have to tell you that I think it's incredible the way that you've crossed over an emotional part into fitness, because it's not a part that is zeroed in on. And the way you have systematically found even your own dialogue to remove the pressure for someone to be working with you. I think it's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, the credit goes to my wife Michelle, who it's always a woman that's running the situation. But so she's a personal trainer, and so much of our system was built around. She was a level 10 gymnast, so a full on athlete left home to train, and just destroyed her hormones in that whole process. I mean, the athletic world for young girls is kind of out of control. And so anyway, all that gets messed up. She becomes a trainer, and then she has 2 kids, and all of a sudden she's like, wait, what is going on? Like, I've got all these eating issues from growing up, and my hormones are totally whacked from having these kids, and I'm not getting enough sleep, and her body was like changing before her eyes. And it was like both of us at that point, like really digging into the research And we're like, okay, well, this is really moving out of this starvation pathway into this safe pathway. And then over time, she was like, oh, I have figured this out now. Like, I can eat what I want and be connected to my body. But it was like learning about these hormones like GLP-1. How do you activate that naturally? And then, of course, she was doing all the strength training anyway. And then then we started the system, and it was a huge hit, right? So we had a waiting list. Women were coming in. It was all, it was all like very exciting. And then what I found is after a year or so, the women would gain the weight back. And we were so frustrated because our whole thing was we want something sustainable. We're tired of everything being just for about a year and then it all fades away. So like, how do we create something sustainable? And that's when we realized, oh, you have to have stress management as a central part of your system.
Amazing.
Because if you're not bringing cortisol down, then people will gain the weight back. And I just don't think that's being talked about enough. And so once that got capped on, then it was like off to the races with our system. But really, she's brought all those. I'm still at the end of the day probably, a lumbering, Cro-Magnon type person. But it was like her influence and all of it that like, she's like, Joelle, stop with all the celebrity shit with your clients. Like, just let's like really hone in on some thoughtful stuff.
I think it's beautiful that you guys found this way through her changes and her vulnerability with you and being honest about it and then being able to find solutions. And while I love that beautiful part of your relationship, I want to talk about the questions that we've
I was going to say that's a great segue.
I think it's great that it's a healthy relationship, but what would you do?
So can I just start by saying there are many times where I go in to train, and this is, I would say, more a while ago, years ago, where I would bring a dating scenario to Joel and he would not even be able to, I'd be like, what do you think I should do? Or what would you do? And he would be like, I can't even put myself in that situation. Like, I can't even fathom like what that would be like. So I'm curious to see, I don't think these are that.
They're not aggressive.
And it wouldn't be aggressive, but do you remember, you'd be like, I don't even.
Some of these stories are.
I don't even,
It's wild.
you just would be like, I don't even know that this is real life.
Knowing how you feel about Andrea and her confidence and, as you said, what is it, delusional
My
confidence?
disorder, I think you said.
Disorder, not delusion.
With love.
With love.
We just filmed an episode and we had a great question. And I would love to hear your feedback because hers was very strong. There's a couple who she has asked her partner, and there's all of her hair that's in the drain in the shower. She asked him 3 days ago to clean out her hair from the drain, and he hasn't done it. When he's approached, he said, it's your hair, clean it out of the drain, I'm not doing it. Who's wrong?
And that's the whole story?
That's
There's
the
no
story.
other, I don't get any other details. Okay. It's a shared shower.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening here?
Yeah,
Okay.
shower in their home.
It's the shower that they both use.
Yeah.
And who else is cleaning this shower? Is there a
Love it. See?
situation where there's like a cleaning person that's coming in, or are they taking turns
There's
cleaning it?
definitely
on the
not.
ground.
I know the person, and there's not a
So they're both
They're
cleaning
they're
the bathroom.
potentially both cleaning. Yeah.
Okay. And so she's got a bunch of her hair. He's got short hair.
Sure.
Okay. Because for me, like this is short for me. Most of my life, I've had really long hair.
Okay.
So I would have no
Be
issue
the problem too.
cleaning it. But in terms of who's wrong, I would feel quite strongly that he is wrong in this situation, simply because it's like, if she's asked you to do it, like how hard
is why
is
your
it
marriage is a
to
lie.
bend over? I just feel like when you're married or with a partner, right? If she asks you for easy shit, that's the time you say yes. Because then when it's the hard stuff, you can like be like, I don't know, but look at all the times I cleaned your hair out of this thing, out of the drain, right?
That is not where I thought you were going with this, but I do appreciate the logic.
Yeah, I think I would be like, that's easy. I don't know what he's worried about. Like if it's the whole thing, if he's being so weird that like, I don't mind petting it when it's on your head, but if it's in the drain, now it's gross. Like, I feel like that's something he could learn to get more comfortable with.
Okay, I love
That's really good. I mean, that was basically what I said, right?
We're going to have to watch the episode.
Yeah, I'll look forward to it. I'll check it out.
I think I said something in terms of he should be excited. He should be like,
Okay, I'm not excited to pull hair out of a sink from my wife. Like that's there's no part of me that's excited, but
he
it's
should
also
feel-
easy to just bend
feel
over
like
and
kind
do
of
it.
blessed to be in that situation where this is coming up for him, you know?
Yeah, if that's the only thing she's asking, you've hit the lotto.
No,
I'm like,
Andrea's
dude.
frame is that he should be so obsessed with her hair.
Right, there we go.
He should feel so privileged and lucky to
Right.
touch
I don't
her
know if I
love.
said that. I think let's roll the tapes, but I think I said something like, I think it should just not even be an issue. Like you should just be cleaning the hair and just whistling while you work. All right, should we do another one?
Do another question.
Do one more? Okay. What is your stance on sharing locations? I mean, you've been married for a long time. You have children that I'm sure that you have their locations if they have telephones. But in a new relationship or in just a dating relationship, what is your opinion on sharing?
In a
locations?
dating relationship?
Yeah, I think right.
In a romantic
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Because now everyone has like their fine friends. It's their little Sims that they can check on. I think a lot of people share locations. But if you're dating in a relationship, marriage, what is your stance on sharing your
Yeah, I mean, this might be like a generational thing then, but yeah, I'm not sharing my location with anyone from unless I've been married to them for as long as I've been married to my wife. So like she knows my location, my kids know my location. But when they first asked me to do it, I was a little bit resistant.
Yeah.
I feel like it just felt weird. And I remember because she had to like ask me a couple times. She was like, "Joelle, what's the deal? Like, sign up on
feel
the
like you and I are similar.
Life 360."
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I mean, everyone knows where I am because I'm either, with my clients or I'm at home. So I could never be accused of a murder because there's always someone with me. So it wasn't like anything that I was, they always know where I am. But it just felt weird. But then I did it and then it wasn't a big deal. But I would feel it's probably generational, but I would feel really uncomfortable if I was dating someone and we've been dating for some months and they were like, I want to see your location. I'm like, you can see my location when I'm with you. Like, here I am.
Here's
That's
my location.
I'm right here.
I'm right here.
now.
And when I'm gone, you can miss me.
I think it's actually shocking that I've never shared my location with someone that I've dated.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I feel very strongly. I've never done this, but I want to be able to be somewhere and say I'm somewhere else.
You just want the ability.
I want the ability. I'm not going to do it, and it's not going to be anywhere bad, but I want to just be able to be like, I'm at Target and be like, I don't want to say I'm at Target. I'm at Starbucks.
I think it's just a feeling.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, I know with my kids, it is like my son does it with his friends, from what I understand. And I think it is very normal. I think if it's normal to you, then it's not a big deal. Right?
That's so, like, balanced.
I don't know if it's balanced.
I feel like, so I was listening to someone on Instagram, a child, specialist or whatever, parent coach. And they were saying when we were growing up, we obviously didn't have cell phones. We didn't share our locations with our parents because we didn't have the ability to, but that provided a sort of independence and freedom that like our kids won't know because we're always tracking where they are. So it's like they kind of always in the back of their head know like, oh, my parents know where I am. So like I'm safe and they've got me. And like, there's a sort of like an independence that I had and that you had and that you had where.
Well, my dad tracked us when we didn't know.
So,
Right.
And my mom recently told me that he would call her into the office and be like, they all said they're somewhere else. Come on, let's go see what they're all doing.
I don't know.
amazing.
Like there was a sense of freedom I had as a kid that was like, I'm on my own. I'm away from the home. My parents don't know where I am. And like, they're not tracking me every.
I mean, I thought I was alone. So I guess it still was like a race independence. I got caught once going through a toll booth. It came back.
Did they put
That's
a tracker on
amazing.
your
I love
car?
it.
My dad didn't put it. It was on my phone, but I remember, I will never forget this. I lied about where I was for the night, and I had a car, and my dad, I was like, I'm sleeping at Leah's house, and I get a call at like 1:00 in the morning, not anywhere near Leah's house. He's like, where's your car? I'm like, you can't fucking fake a car.
Yeah.
So I just like, I essentially went like mute, and I evaporated into thin air because I had no other way.
You evaporated.
It has helped a lot of parents. Like I've heard these kind of
Yeah,
stories.
for
from
sure. I
clients
had a
like
credit
that.
card that I didn't realize it was not when you could look at it online. And so I didn't realize that I guess I somehow could know that you got a bill, but I wasn't thinking about it. So I told my parents I was going to a friend's house and I took a plane to LA with a friend in high school. And then we charged everything on the credit card. And then they got it and they were like, hey, what's this? And I was like, I didn't realize you could see that.
Having a young child, my son's 3.5, it's marketed to me now where they make shoes with a place for an AirTag in them.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know how I feel
awesome.
about that.
I mean, I feel great about it.
Yeah, I would love that.
Swallow an air tag.
Yeah.
I
I'd
want to
be
know
all
where
about
he is
that.
all
It's
the
funny
time.
with your kids. Yeah, for sure. You would definitely want that.
I don't know that I want to know.
I think for me, it's more that like he's at a daycare and I love his school. I love everything. But as he gets older, I know I lied. I know I put myself in situations that I shouldn't have. And I would never punish him for learning life lessons. But I want to be able to be a security and an option for him if he needs me.
Yeah.
And my parents, thank God they were tracking me, because if ever I went missing, like I didn't know they were tracking me, but at least they could have found me.
I think that's probably the best case. You thought you were independent,
Yeah.
but you were being watched.
But yeah, I mean, Otis, poor kid. I'm never taking the camera out of his bedroom.
I think that's another thing. Like the things in the cribs weren't a thing when I was a mom. So a new mom, you couldn't watch every movement of like the baby. You're just sort of like, oh, they're fine, I guess.
People would ask me when he was a newborn, like even until he was a year, they'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm literally live streaming him and watching Netflix. Just God forbid he roll over. I need to know.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. All right, should we just do one more quick one?
Sure.
We have time? Yeah. Okay, couples Halloween costumes. I have someone that wrote in that she wants to do their biggest fight is every year on Halloween, she wants to do a couple's Halloween costume. And he is like, no, because one person gets to shine and it's you. And I'm always the one that's like in the suit, it's like she wants to be Jackie O. And so then he has to be JFK and he like, what does he do? He wears a suit. And like she gets to be the one that's like the star. And then she's like, I want to be Peggy Bundy. And like then he has to be Al and he wears a suit. So it's like someone always gets the shaft in a couple's Halloween costume.
And so he's just saying sometimes he still wants to do couples, but pick something where he shines?
He doesn't want to do, he wants to do his own thing. And like they get into a fight every year about Halloween costumes because everyone inevitably.
I mean, I can't imagine having a real fight about this, but I would definitely be on her side. Like, I don't even understand why he cares. Like, just wear your fucking suit and go to the party and have a good time.
There are some things.
Some guys like really care about Halloween.
Some guys really care about Halloween. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm the one that's getting to have the fun. For once, can you please put some costume on and
Do they have kids?
Yeah, they have 2 kids.
I mean, my thing is, if she's done the kid thing, this woman has been through enough, and she wants to just go have a great time and shine in her cool outfit. I don't know, why can't you just go for the ride? And then fine, like have a year, be like, hey, this is the year that I really want to be Siegfried and you get to be Roy. And so I get to shine with my chest hair out. Fine, like they should switch years where at least he gets to have a more, whatever outfit makes him feel looked at. But
can I ask you if you think this is fair, what I'm asking of my partner for Halloween? My son wants to be a witch and he's very into hocus pocus right now. So I asked my boyfriend if the 3 of us could be the Sanderson sisters, to which he would get to be the hot sister. I was like, you can be Sarah Jessica, but you are going to be a witch this Halloween. And he's not getting on board.
I can kind of understand that.
You can?
Yeah, that one I can feel a little bit more.
You're wrong.
That feels like a big jump from wearing a suit.
Yeah. Is him putting on a corseted dress with his chest hair?
So that one I can understand why he might be a little bit reticent.
Sorry, I was getting into the imaginative play of Halloween.
Yeah.
Sure.
How fun it would be.
Yeah. I mean, if you can convince him to do that, I think you can.
I think I can too.
Yeah.
I can tell that the wheels were turning today. And I was like, I just want to let you know that if you do this for me, that you have a big favor on the table and you will get a lot of praise for being such a sport. If you were to put on a blonde wig, you don't have to shave your face.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't
just your body.
shave your face because it makes it better. Yeah.
You in a blonde wig.
You do you exactly how I tell you to on this day.
Well, that's a really good relationship test. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, this has been so fun. We're definitely going to have you. I hope
this
that
was
you'll come back
I enjoyed
on.
the discussion.
Tell us a little bit like where people can find you, and then we'll also put it in the show notes.
Oh, great. Yeah. So people can find me at my site, which is ls20z.com. And of course, they can DM.
They can DM
you,
myself or Demi
and
direct
I'm
you
sure
because
you
you
guys
will not find him on social media.
Yeah. I don't. I see people in my studio in Lincoln Park. The availability is limited there, but I do every year. I run a virtual program with people all over, and I take a small group of women through our entire curriculum and through all the workouts and all of it. And it's pretty cool. You know some folks that have done
Yeah,
it. So
for sure.
So we'll be doing that in January. So
Awesome. All right. Thank you so
Thank
All right,
much.
thanks.
Yeah.
This was great.
you.
What do you-
Yeah.